The sun ruled like a merciless king, baking the earth into cracked red clay. The communal well sat dry and hollow as a weary community waited for a drop of hope. Inside his mud hut, Kojo turned their water pot flat. Nothing came out. Seeing his mother's worn face, he grabbed an empty wooden bucket and vowed to find water.
Nearby, luxury thrived. Chief Alika stood on his shaded veranda in fine robes. While his people starved, he looked out over the dry village with a cold, uncaring eye.
With the heavy wooden bucket on his back, Kojo left the village. He walked past skeletal trees, his sandals kicking up dust, determined to find hope in the hills. The path grew steep and unforgiving. Jagged, dark rocks scraped the sky, and the heat was suffocating. Yet, Kojo pressed on, searching every crevice for a sign of life. The tunnel opened into a hidden paradise. A golden sunbeam illuminated a crystal-clear pool, lush green moss, and a patch of rich earth. Kojo had found a secret sanctuary. Kneeling on the damp cave floor, Kojo pulled out a single watermelon seed. With gentle hands, he pressed it into the rich soil under the warmth of the sunbeam. Carefully tilting his bucket, Kojo poured a gentle stream of water onto the soil. The dry earth drank it eagerly, and Kojo offered a silent prayer for his treasure. Emerging back into the harsh daylight, Kojo carefully covered the narrow crevice with dry tumbleweeds and thorny branches. His secret sanctuary was now perfectly camouflaged from greedy eyes. Weeks passed without a single drop of rain. The village sundial cast long shadows over the parched ground, and a lone goat blinked weakly in the shimmering heat waves. Long before sunrise, Kojo slipped through his window into the purple twilight. Clutching his empty bucket tightly to stop the handle from rattling, he vanished into the morning mist. Inside the quiet cave, a miracle happened. A tiny pale green sprout pushed through the dark soil. Lying on his stomach, Kojo smiled warmly at the new life. With complete focus, Kojo picked away sharp pebbles from around the fragile stem. He loosened the rich earth with a twig, protecting the plant with a guardian's care. Fed by the sunbeam, the vine grew with magical speed. Coiled tendrils claimed the soil, broad leaves unfurled, and bright yellow blossoms bloomed in a beautiful dance of life. Holding his breath, Kojo used a fluffy guinea fowl feather to dust pollen between the yellow blossoms, ensuring the hidden plant would bear fruit. The yellow petals withered away, leaving a perfectly striped green sphere the size of a marble. Kojo touched it gently, filled with protective pride. Outside, the village was dying. Weary villagers huddled in despair as an old woman shook her empty clay pot, watching only dry dust fall out. Even Chief Alika felt the drought. On his shaded veranda, he slammed down his polished clay pitcher in rage as only a single muddy drop fell. When Kojo returned to the cave, he gasped. The tiny marble had grown into a colossal, boulder-sized watermelon that practically glowed in the secret sanctuary. Kneeling by the monumental fruit, Kojo gently packed soft, golden straw beneath its heavy frame to protect the waxy green rind from the damp mud. Kojo snapped the dried curly tendril and tapped the giant watermelon. A deep, hollow, water-filled boom echoed through the cave, signaling it was ready. Grinning with pride, Kojo wrapped a vine string around the massive watermelon, laughing quietly as he realized the harvest was taller than his own waist. Peering warily through the split boulder, Kojo checked the empty path before pushing his wooden handcart outside and carefully replacing the thorny camouflage. But high on a rocky peak, Chief Alika stood hidden behind a boulder. Looking through brass binoculars, a greedy, predatory grin spread across his face. As Kojo walked past the estate, a single droplet of water slipped from his bucket onto a dry leaf. On his veranda, Alika noticed the glinting moisture. Inside his dark mansion, Chief Alika paced aggressively by candlelight. He tossed a heavy pouch of gold coins, plotting to take whatever the boy had found. In the misty dawn twilight, Kojo pulled his cart up the steep ridge. Far behind, ducking behind volcanic rocks, Chief Alika stealthily followed the boy. Kojo disappeared into the split boulder crevice. Watching from behind a low stone wall, Chief Alika's eyes bulged with a triumphant, malicious grin. Creeping to the boulder, Alika pressed his face against a narrow fissure. His dilated eye reflected the vibrant, glowing green light of the giant treasure inside. In his study, Alika aggressively circled the ridge on a map with charcoal. Two heavy iron crowbars leaned against the wall, ready for the theft. In a dark alleyway, Alika handed the heavy gold pouch to two muscular henchmen, pointing to the ridge and demanding absolute silence with a swift gesture. In the quiet, starlit oasis, Kojo placed a small purple orchid on the giant green rind, a silent thank you token before the upcoming morning harvest. Under an ink-black sky, the henchmen carried heavy crowbars and ropes up the ridge. Alika followed closely, shielding a dim, tense amber lantern. Tearing away the camouflage, the henchmen wedged their iron crowbars into the crevice, straining violently as the ancient stone wall began to screech and splinter open. With a loud crack, the cave wall crumbled inward. The pristine sanctuary was violated as heavy, mud-caked boots stomped inside, crushing the delicate green moss. The muscular henchmen wrapped thick hemp ropes around the colossal watermelon, straining under the immense weight, while Chief Alika watched with hysterical, greedy glee. A sharp machete sliced cleanly through the thick green vine. A heavy wet sound echoed as milky sap dripped slowly from the severed plant onto a leaf. The heavy watermelon was forced through the jagged rocks, deeply scarring its waxy green skin. Below, a heavy boot ground Kojo's purple orchid into dust. They rolled the scarred melon onto a heavy wooden cart, making the planks groan. The startled donkey backed up as Alika cheered triumphantly under the stars. The henchmen rolled massive boulders over the crevice to block it completely, throwing dirt and thorny branches to hide any trace of the forced entry. At sunrise, Kojo stepped out of his compound, pulling his handcart. Wearing his best tunic and a wildflower, he smiled brightly, eager for the harvest. Kojo ran playfully up the steep volcanic path, letting his light wooden cart bounce behind him, humming happily in the warm, golden morning light. Rounding the final bend, Kojo suddenly froze and dropped his cart handle. His face turned pale with horror at the sight of a fresh rockslide blocking the entrance. Tears streaming down his face, Kojo frantically clawed at the heavy pile of rough boulders and dirt, his hands covered in dust as he screamed in desperation. Ignoring the pain, Kojo squeezed his slim body through a tiny, jagged gap between the fallen stones, tearing his orange tunic as he pushed into the darkness. Inside, Kojo dropped to the floor in total heartbreak. The crystal pool was a muddy swamp and the beautiful moss beds were trampled into black sludge. Illuminated by a lone sunbeam, the severed vine sat bleeding a thick drop of white sap. Kojo's trembling hand reached out, gently touching the ruined plant. Alone in the ruined cave, Kojo threw his head back in a sunbeam, his shoulders shaking violently as he let out an agonizing sob of complete betrayal. Tracing the mud, Kojo's fingers found a deep footprint showing the expensive geometric pattern of the chief's sandal. Kojo's tears stopped, his eyes hardening into steel. In the late afternoon, Alika's cart rumbled into the village square. The chief sat proudly at the reins, parading the colossal scarred watermelon before the people. Weary villagers crowded the dusty roadsides, pointing in absolute wide-eyed bewilderment at the magnificent, moisture-rich green monument rolling past their dry homes.
The heavy timbered gates of the chief's estates slammed shut, reinforced with iron bands. Inside, Alika gave a cruel, dismissive smirk, locking the starving village out.
In his shaded courtyard, the giant watermelon sat on a mahogany table. Alika stood over it, rubbing his fleshy hands together in frantic, greedy anticipation.
Kojo walked into the square, following a trail of sticky sap and cart rot right to the chief's gate, his jaw clenched with quiet, icy determination. Standing completely alone in the dusty square, Kojo dwarfed by the massive locked gates. Squeezing a piece of dried vine twine, his posture remained perfectly calm and unyielding. In the courtyard, Chief Alika ran a metal file along a silver carving knife. The sharp blade gleamed under the sun as he smiled a sinister smile. But inside a dark, jagged scar on the watermelon's rind, thousands of hyperactive black field crickets crawled over one another in a dense, vibrating, chaotic mass. Standing over the massive fruit, Chief Alika raised the silver carving knife high with both hands, his eyes bulging with greedy excitement as he prepared to strike. The blade plunged deep, and a jagged crack ripped down the rind. Instead of juice, a thick cloud of dark, dry dust billowed out, confusing the chief. The melon burst open, and a massive, thick black wave of thousands of angry, buzzing crickets erupted from the hollow center, exploding straight into Alika's terrified face. The courtyard became a chaotic vortex of insects. Covered head to toe in a writhing black coat of crickets, Alika panicked, flailing his arms wildly to brush them off. Slipping on the sticky sap, Alika tripped backward over his rocking chair, crashing heavily into the wood and sobbing hysterically as the insect swarmed his face. The estate gates burst open, and Alika came sprinting out into the public square, screaming in terror and tearing at his cricket-covered robes before the shocked villagers. Blinded by the insects, the chief tripped over a stone and landed face first in a black mud puddle by the dry well, splattering his fine kente cloth. As Alika lay defeated and shivering in the mud, the crowd of villagers pointed their fingers and burst into hysterical, roaring laughter, doubling over in absolute joy. Watching from the edge of the crowd, Kojo didn't laugh. He simply nodded in quiet satisfaction, turning his back on the muddy chief to walk away in peace. Inside his hut, Kojo pulled back straw from a large basket, revealing a massive bounty of fresh, moisture-rich yams. His mother wept tears of pure relief and joy. Under the night sky, Kojo and his mother distributed the fresh food to hungry families around crackling cooking fires, bringing the grateful community together in unity. At sunset, Kojo sat on a rock facing the vast savanna. Smiling confidently, he pressed a single watermelon seed into the warm earth, planting hope for the future. Kojo's journey reminds us that greed may take what belongs to others, but it can never steal the wisdom, hard work, and patience it takes to grow something truly great. True abundance comes from a generous heart. If you loved Kojo's story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your favorite part. Share this story with your friends and family to help us bring you more inspiring tales like this one. Thank you for watching.